everybody, welcome to the Wise Space for the youth, by the youth, with honest chats, fresh perspectives and good vibes only. I'll be your host for today. My name is Sesethu, alongside with Tamia. It is important that we prioritize our well-being and the issues that affect our mental health. We'll be delving into critical issues like setting boundaries, work-life balance, and burnout. These are issues that affect all of us regarding your profession, your position, and the industry you work in. Our guests today will be sharing their experiences, talking about insights, and giving us advices and practical strategies on how we can promote our well-being in the workplace. Then we hand over to my guests to tell us more about themselves and where do they come from.
I'm a social worker at Indlela mental health. I'm born and bred in PE. Yeah, I think let's have this conversation.
Bomkazi, I think it's your turn.
I'm also a social worker at Indlela mental health, working with people with psychosocial disabilities. Yeah, I'm born in PE, grew up in Alexandria, back in PE again.
So the first topic that I want to dive into is burnout. So I would like you guys to explain what a burnout is. I do feel I experienced a burnout before, and also how one can manage a burnout when you feel burned out from work, from home things, and when you just feel exhausted, you want to shut down. What exactly is that? Why does it happen, and how can you manage it?
A burnout is being physically, emotionally tired. It's like sometimes you get sick of how tired you are. Everything gets too much. Like you cannot even get out of bed when you have a burnout, and you end up being not that productive. You end up being sick. You end up not even knowing what you're doing because it all becomes a lot at once. That's how a burnout is. And how to prevent it is having boundaries for yourself, not taking a lot at once, knowing what is your limit, and also having time off from family, having time off from people that always need you, like having me time. Doesn't have to be you take yourself out, just lay in bed the whole day and just listen to your body.
So you need to take a break.
You definitely need to take a break when you develop a burnout, because as I said, sometimes you can even get physically sick because your body is so tired and it cannot take any more strain, physical strain, emotional strain, and then you become physically sick. That's why sometimes people would put themselves in at a mental institution just to get that breather. Or once you know this is your limit, just relax and stay in bed.
Any job is stressful, and the moment you are feeling overly stressed and you can see that your body is telling you it's time to take a minute, you should do it. Because people have this tendency of trying to move like a moving train, and then when they crash and burn now, it's when they experience like, oh, I was actually burnt out. So it's very important to listen to your body, to listen to your emotions, because it's not only you physically. The moment that emotionally the work environment just makes you type of vibe, then it says, okay, you need to reevaluate what is working at work and what is not working.
I heard you mentioning that we have to prioritize our well-being, self-care in a way, but I'd like to ask, how do you prevent, you mentioned emotionally tired, physically tired, and so on. So how do you prevent yourself from feeling the burnout, but also while you maintain a positive outcome at work?
As I said, setting boundaries. I come at work at 8, that's when I start working. My lunchtime is at 1. Between 1 and 2, it's my time. I go home at 4:30. From 4:30, I leave everything at the door. So it's setting boundaries. Not answering emails after hours, not answering phone calls after hours, not prioritizing your lunchtime for work, but still being productive within the working hours that are set for you. Between 8 and 4:30, and from 1 to 2 is your lunchtime. But All the other times you are productive at work and doing what you're supposed to do. But other times that are meant for you, it's your time. Because we've got that thing, oh, I'll take it home. I'll do it during lunchtime. I'll finish it before I start working at 8. I'll come in early in the office to finish it off. It's your time. That's when the burnout happens. Because when is your time? When do you prioritize yourself?
You're not supposed to be looking at any work emails. You're not supposed to even be engaging in any work conversation after hours. So setting those limits and boundaries also makes your colleagues understand that. Don't call me at 5 talking about, Sisanda, did you do A, B, C, D? Because I'm not going to respond, because I'm looking after my mental well-being. Because the more you condition also your colleagues on that part, they won't understand that you also need space to yourself.
Yes.
So we need to be cognizant also, let's not create a precedence to our colleagues to just overstep our boundaries.
Yes.
So I think, setting boundaries is very important just to help you balance life, work, and you.
And you know, sometimes adding on to that, it's all end up being burnt out. Because everything is now, no, Sisanda can do it. Sisanda won't mind doing it. Sisanda is fine. We've got an event on Saturday. No, Sisanda will plan it. And Sisanda is always available. But in the meantime, she is exhausted. And yet Monday she has to be at work. That's why Sisanda has to set the boundaries herself that no, I cannot do it. The moment she starts doing it, everyone will know. On a Saturday, we don't bother Sisanda. Do you understand? So it's always those hard working, not that you do not work hard during working hours, but it's always the ones. Yeah, it's always the ones that are always. Yes. You should set your own boundaries. You should set your
I also think, you know what, it's just the simplest thing in saying no. It's that art, it's actually really an art, because it's not easy to say no.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to offend the person. Are you sure they're going to understand? But saying no is the most important thing you need to learn in any work environment. If you can't do something, or you feeling that I'm tired, this is my cut-off, say that. Don't try and over-please your partner or whoever. So it's setting boundaries and learning the art of saying no.
And also being able to communicate. It's not easy, but we have to do it. Whether you're shaking in your boots, but at the end of the day, if you don't say it, who's going to say it on your behalf? Remember, you went along to the interview, so you have to face the consequences of the place you're working. So open communication at work, and it all depends on you.
So we also asked some of our teammates at the YMCA how they navigate through a burnout, and this is what they had to say. Khushna, do you know what a burnout is?
Yes, I do know what a burnout is.
And have you ever experienced one?
Of course.
So how would you tell the audience how you navigate through one?
I like to keep a tight schedule. I like to make a list for myself so that I can keep on track of what I still need to do even though I'm feeling burnt out. That really helps me, and if not that, if I need to take a break, then I would just take a drive, sit out in nature, just clear my mind a bit so that I can refocus.
I think I'll try that.
You should.
Have you ever experienced a burnout? And if you have, how did you work through it?
So I've experienced many a burnout. I think it's the story of my life at this point, and I don't really have a way to overcome. I kind of just chug on. Not the healthiest option, but that's where we are.
Okay. So how do you go about navigating through a burnout?
Basically, when I'm too burnout, I take a 2-day leave, or I ask for a rest. Or when I'm totally tired, I would say I do something different, go sleep, or after work maybe go sleep. But basically I can't sleep nowadays because I have a child, I have a daughter. So
It's tough.
it's tough. So basically my personal life it's way more than my work life.
I've learned a lot about setting boundaries, definitely, and I'm going to advocate for myself if I get that email on 12 o'clock and I'm going to respond to it. Moving on, we have work-life balance. And this is something I definitely want to dive into because I do believe time management is a very important thing. But I would love your professional opinion on how to navigate that balance within your work life and your personal life, because you don't want work to be your entire life. And before we get into that, we also asked some of the staff at YMCA how they navigate or how they go through their work-life balance, how they balance their life within being at work and being at home, and how they practice being present. How do you balance husna at work and husna at home?
Honestly, it's kind of the same like I deal with the burnout. I try to manage my time really well. I'll make a list, of what needs to be done at work, and I'll try to stick to that list. And after a certain time, when work clocks out, I close my laptop and I leave it at that. And then, I'll go home and deal with my responsibilities for at home. So I like to keep it separated. Yeah.
Boundaries.
Yes.
How do you go about balancing your life, your personal life and your work life? Because we know that sometimes it can overlap.
So one way I've done that is I've been clear about compartmentalizing my life. So there's Fifi that shows up at work, and then my friends, my family see another version of myself. I think it's very important to have a clear distinction, and it's not necessarily that I have to maybe change myself, but I know that certain environments or places demand a certain me.
Wow, insightful. So you spoke about having a daughter, and that leads me to ask you this question: how do you balance your life, working, your personal life? How do you maintain a balance in all that you do?
Basically, I shut down, totally shut down. I don't read messages unless it's very important for me to know about it when it comes to work. But I turn away from work when I'm at my own. I focus more on my well-being and being present as a father.
I'll take some of Ralph's advice on not answering messages at home. So I really loved something that you said about if you just because you can fix something doesn't mean you should. And I think that's something that I also have to learn. Just because I can take the wheel doesn't mean I need to. And you're not wrong for also not taking the wheel, because you have your own set of responsibilities. So I think I really like that, because you can end up feeling bad when you can do something and it's not your place to do it, but to make it better if you step in. But if you step in, you'd put more on your plate, and you wouldn't be setting those boundaries that you need to set for your mental health. So I love that. Just because you can fix things also doesn't mean you should, and if you don't, it doesn't make you a bad person.
And to me, being in a work environment is about being in a team. So I'm not going to take on all the work and take on all the credit, but I want my team members to also shine. So I'm going to show you, or I'm going to hint you on how to do it so that you know how to do it, you can excel in it. That's about being a team player. So to also avoid burnout is also being a team player, not wanting to always lead the team, but also being a team player.
And that also helps with navigating a toxic work environment, because the moment a team is able to work or flourish as a team, toxicity becomes very minimal. Whereas if it's more, not saying competition is not needed in any environment, competitiveness helps as an individual to empower yourself and have growth, but to a certain extent. So in a workspace, teamwork is very important. So if I am able to show you how to fish, then you are excelling in fishing. I know I can fish. Everyone in the whole team is fishing.
Yeah.
So hey, we're doing great. So we are able to lean on each other. So toxicity becomes really rare. So you come to work enjoying coming to work. But the moment you wake up at 6 o'clock and you say, oh my God, do I really want to go to work? Because you don't want to look, I don't want to look at home, because I wanted her to help me and ABCD, or Mom helped me, but she, instead of helping me, she led
Yes.
the whole ship, and I felt as an outcast. So it's very important to also be very, introspection is key as an individual. You know who you are, you know where you fail, you know where you succeed. So in all those elements, you are looking after yourself first, and you are saying, okay, I am great at B, I am failing at C, I don't want to burn myself out. Let me say, okay, since I'm good at B, can you help me master C, but as a team? Because remember, burnout is so painful because you don't see it coming.
Yes.
It's just you crashing. Because it gives you so much leeway of you working hard. Then all of a sudden, you just feel tired, you just feel demotivated to even go to work. So as employees or as people in general, that's not a good feeling to have. So that's why we need to learn how to master introspection and also time managing our lives, and learning boundaries and just randomly saying, I don't want to do it. Simple.
Okay, I get that. You both mentioned teamwork, and I think for any department, for any sector, if we want to produce good, better results, actually, we need to be a team. And while being a team, we ensure that the ship doesn't sink. But how do you advocate for one's mental well-being at work if we're a team of 4 and you can see that okay, Sesethu has so much work on her now and her mental is just irritating. So how do you advocate for my men if I am experiencing it and I'm not talking about it, but you as a team, you can see that she's taking the lead, everything else is going on smoothly, but her mental health is not just, it's just going down. How do you talk, how do you address such things, how do you bring it up, how do you advocate for my mental well-being, not only mine, but like for everyone else in the team?
As Sisanda said, being in a team member and you empower each other, you can see when one is going through something. When you are a strong team, you are a team that works together, you are a team that shares. I don't need to say anything within my team member. They can see when I'm not feeling well. And I'm going on a personal level, like our supervisor where we work, she's very good with that. She would tell you to go home. You haven't said a thing. Nothing, you didn't mention you going through a lot, you are in a burnout or anything. She would tell you go home and go rest for a day or 2 or come back tomorrow. That's how strong teams are, you can see. Even sometimes you call your colleague, you want to ask something. If you really know your team members, you can hear that this one, Sisanda, what's wrong? Are you okay? Team members that don't work together never understand each other's mental health. Team members that are strong can always vouch for each other, because I know Sisanda doesn't normally do this, so there's definitely something wrong with Sisanda.
I think a workspace is supposed to promote positive mental health in all spheres of employment. If I see you are sinking and my plate is not heavy, I should be able to unsettle your load. Also, we need managers that are having an open door policy of knocking, confidentiality in terms of, I'm saying, hey, I can see Bom is not kind of okay. Just put out an eye out for her. Open door policies that work like that, because there's a thing of, as much as people are a team, it doesn't mean they like each other at times. So you don't want to overstep someone else's toes, but you also don't want them to crash. So if we are an organization or a company that promotes mental health, open door policies when it comes to mental health are very important. Understanding burnout, understanding that a person is feeling anxious, understanding that a person is feeling not well. You can say, I woke up today, boss, and I'm feeling something is really offbeat. I'm feeling tired, and your boss can say, okay, you know what? You've got leave days, 20 leave days. Take 2 days off, rest. The power of resting does wonders for the body and mind. So I think if a company or an employer, what is English? Whatever it is advocating for their staff's mental well-being, I think they should sit down and create policies that are speaking to that. Because let's be honest, the policies that are there in most organizations are not favoring mental health.
Definitely. And
They're looking at productivity, what needs to be done, A, B, C, D. So if they have these policies that look after their staff, I think going to work would be so much more amazing.
A stigma within mental health. If I'm telling my boss that I'm feeling anxious, she might think, oh wow, what do you mean you're feeling anxious? Not everyone is as open, and also sometimes that person can end up being alienated or seen as problematic for being so in tune to their emotions. So there's just this fine line of, can you really in a workplace bring up these things, or do we just shy away from them and then they're like, what's happening with this person? She hasn't answered the call, because you can't really go and lay that down, because we haven't, like you said, policies haven't been really put in place or practiced in workplaces to promote mental health, because there's the stigma, there's the ugliness around it. There's like, oh, you're incompetent in general if you're going through a rough patch in your life, and then it's like, oh wow, I moved on from that and I'm in a different place and I'm a great worker, but obviously that previous place maybe couldn't support me within that specific time. So how would you advise someone when they're going through challenges? When do you know, should you speak up about it or should you keep that to yourself?
You know, the most painful thing about a workplace that is toxic in not promoting mental health is that most staff members tend to leave. They tend to not even be productive. Because if you are, and the stigma that comes with mental health is very huge and heavy. Because the fact that you won't want to open up to your supervisor or team lead says a lot about the dynamic you have with your fellow employees, English. And it is painful, because what you say is so true, because you don't want to go around being labeled as the problematic one, because if you are feeling anxious and you don't want to do this, people see you as you want to grow, you don't want growth, or you want to develop. Whereas maybe you are feeling something and you are going through something at that present moment, you just feel offbeat. And the fact that you are unable to reach out to a certain manager or fellow colleague makes it so emotionally taxing. Because work is, you spend most of your time at work. Let's be honest. You only spend a couple of hours at home. You get home, you cook, you wash, boss your kids, talk to your husband, your partner, you're in bed. You wake up tomorrow, you spend another 8 hours with all these people. So if you are not comfortable with this environment you're in, is it really worth you being there? We need to learn mental health is something now as people we need to fight for ourselves. And for the stigma or the taboo to move away, the more people come out and show that it's okay not being okay, it will eventually become something new. It's better than it was 10 years ago. It's better than it was 15 years ago. So it's baby steps, it's small strides, but each and every year, the fact that there are podcasts that talk about mental health, the fact that now there are conversations being had by youth regarding mental health, so it does show some progression when it comes to the world. But yeah, I think we need to learn to advocate for ourselves. If you are not okay and this work environment is not working for you, you do have a right to say it out loud. You do have the right to say, okay, I'm going to fix myself. If you guys are not willing to support me in my journey, I'll see where I stand.
And also, as Sisanda said, it's better than it was 10 years ago. Because you'll find that some companies have actually referral organization where you can go. Because sometimes it's not that easy to just go to a manager and say, I'm crashing, I can't do this anymore. But there is an organization that I can go to who will write a recommendation that this person needs what you call capacity leave. And capacity leave is like, it's a leave where you take off just to relax. But you're not in a state of mind to go to work. People don't understand that when you've got a mental illness, it's not like I've got a headache, I've got a sore throat, it's going to take 3 days, then I'm fine. It's going to take 5 days, then I'm fine. You don't know how many days it's going to take. So there are companies, organizations who do write referral to say this person needs to be home for 3 months. I wish I could get that. Needs to be home for so long, but then also confidentiality, not saying what you're going through, but you need some time out. So that's why times are evolving. Times are evolving. Organizations are realizing that there is something as mental health, and the fact that people with severe mental illnesses are within our working spaces, working just like any ordinary person. It means that it's also in consideration that we've got people with mental illness, but they're capable of doing the same work of people who do not have mental illness. So times are evolving. Maybe 5 years from now, all organizations will have EAPs, employee.
I know. It's
Like we'll have EAPs or organizations that they refer to, things like that. In the next 5 years, it's going to be, because now people are more vocal about mental illness. It's no longer about it's just my thing. I'm too scared people are going to see me as a crazy person. People are so used to mental illnesses now. So it's all about communication, opening up, letting people know about your mental illness, because that's where you crash, not telling anyone anything. And it's the people that come to work and laugh, come to work and do make all kinds of jokes, but deep inside you know you're suffering from a mental illness. But I want to keep on this happy face so that nobody sees truly what I'm going through. So open communication and being true to yourself. Being true to yourself. I always say that if you're not true to yourself, nobody will know what is wrong with you. Even doctors cannot diagnose you if you can't say, you know what, I think I'm going to A, B, C, D. I can't sleep, I can't do this. But once you're in denial, nobody's going to know, because you come to work, you laugh, everything is fine. We don't see anything is wrong with you.
As people who have been on the field for quite some time now, can you give us some strategies on how we can better manage our stress when it comes to work-life balance?
It may sound 100% cliche as you've been saying it, but time management is very important. Managing how you spend your time with your family, your husband, your kids, and your time at work. Setting boundaries, meaning being able to say no at work so that you can detach from that and be present with your home life. Self-care, doing hobbies that make you happy, not hobbies that make other people happy. Being mindful about your mental health, also being able to delegate tasks. If you can see that you are overwhelmed, also asking for help is not wrong, asking someone else to offload the burden so that you can be present in your other space, because I believe as a person your work cannot be your life, but your work is just an extension of your life. So having those few things to help you in the journey, I think those are some of the strategies you might be able to use.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for being here with us for this episode where we dive into mental health in the workplace, which is something that we should continuously promote and talk about. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month, which makes it a perfect conversation for professionals and for people who work in any industry. Once again, thank you for coming, and I had a lovely chat. I've learned so much from you guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time.